This is the DIY Audio Guy, and for today's adventure we have a box full of goodies. Let's open it up and see what's inside. We're going to start off with an iData-Link Maestro, or is it a Maestro? I'm never sure how it's pronounced. Either way, this is a steering wheel control interface. Next in the list is a backup camera right here, Butterfingers. Don't drop it, it's a backup camera. And now it's time for the star of the show, the one and only, the Alpine ILX-W650 7-inch multimedia receiver. I've been looking forward to trying one of these out since I saw them first arrive on the marketplace. If we're going to have a head unit, we need a dash kit. Here we have a dash kit. It's a Metra dash kit for integrating into a Kia. That's right, we're going to be putting this into a Kia. Let's see what else is in the box of goodies. I've already opened this up to play with it. You can see this is a USB retention harness to go into a Hyundai or a Kia. And this right here is a backup camera interface. The car I'm installing into doesn't have a backup camera, so I won't be using this. That's going to go back in the box. I'm going to return that sucker. And then you have the standard wiring harness for your power, your ground, your ignition, and of course all of your 4 speaker wires, all in these 2 harnesses right here. And then we have this little device right here. I call this the secret weapon. If you're going to install any kind of touchscreen radio, you definitely need this. This is the micro bypass. In order to adjust any of the settings on a radio like this, you have to set the parking brake. And this little device right here bypasses that safety feature. Now we don't do that in order to get around the safety feature because we're not going to tinker with the settings while driving. We do this in order to make installation easier. You don't have to waste a bunch of time and energy trying to figure out how to find the parking brake wire. Let's open up some of these boxes and get a closer look at what's inside. Let's start with the steering wheel control interface. If you've never seen one of these, they're pretty straightforward. There's a module and a bunch of wires. There's also a quick start guide, and the quick start guide basically tells you to take this thing to your computer and plug it in, and after you plug it in and program it on your computer, you'll get more detailed directions as to what to do with the rest of these wires. In order to plug it into your computer, you're going to need this USB cable right here. This is the standard micro USB cable that used to be used for cell phones back before everything switched to a USB Type-C. Now there are 2 wire harnesses. This is the first one. This is the one that plugs into the aftermarket radio and the module. It has 2 wires. One of them looks just like a standard headphone plug, and the other one is just this simple blue and green striped wire. The blue connector goes into the module itself, and the other end plugs into the radio depending on the radio that you're using. For this Alpine, you use the headphone jack. This other bundle of wires looks really big and confusing, but don't worry about that. After you program the module, you'll be able to download specific instructions for your vehicle. Now let's open up the ILX-W650 and see what you get inside the box. I'll give you some affiliate links to this radio and all the other parts that I'm using in this video. What makes this radio unique is its mounting depth. It is a shallow radio. And so when you open it up and slide out of all this packaging they put in it, you see that it's not a very big radio. So there's tons of room in the dash behind this radio. Alpine even sells a small amplifier that physically mounts to the back of this thing. I'll make sure to give you a link to that amplifier. In fact, they sell 2. They sell a monoblock and a 4-channel amp. Let me slide this thing out of the way so I can see what else is in the box. Of course, there is an instruction manual and a warranty card. And there's also this plastic bag that's chocked full of wires. There is, of course, a USB cable that plugs into the back of the radio and then snakes around to the front so you can connect a USB drive or your phone. Then there is a microphone for the Bluetooth hands-free calling or the Android Auto / Apple CarPlay. Next, there are 2 wiring harnesses that plug into the back of the radio. That's the main harness. Let's put that out of the way for just a second and look at the other one. This harness here has all of the RCAs and the inputs for 2 cameras, a front and a rear camera. And what you'll notice is there's no RCA plugs on the radio itself. Everything goes through this harness. For this particular project, I'm not going to be using any aftermarket amplifiers for now. All I'm going to use is the backup camera, so I'm going to zip tie all the extra RCAs out of the way and go ahead and plug this thing into the back of the radio so that I don't lose it. Let's take a look at the main wiring harness. For the most part, this harness is going to follow all of the standard color coding that you would expect in car audio. For example, right here, there's a yellow wire that has a fuse on it. That's going to be the main power wire. So the black and the yellow are right beside each other in the harness. They're easy to see. They're a little bit thicker than the rest of the wires. The black wire, the ground wire, does have a spade terminal on it. And of course, you can see clearly the fuse right there. I think it's a 25 amp fuse for the main power. Next up, you've got your speaker wires. 4 sets of speaker wires, positive and negative. The stripe indicates the negative. These are the standard color codes that you should expect in a car audio setup. Continuing along in the harness, there is a red wire. The red wire is the ignition wire. So this is what signals the radio to turn on when you turn the car on. There is a quick disconnect terminal on the red wire. There's also 2 blue wires. One of them has a white stripe. These 2 wires are for the remote turn on lead for the amplifier and for an amplified antenna. Both these wires have a female quick disconnect terminal already crimped on. And then finally, we have these 2 long wires left in the harness. One of these wires is the backup camera wire. This triggers the backup camera. So when you put the car in reverse, the backup camera will pop up on the screen. And the other one is the emergency brake wire. This wire is connected to the emergency brake, or in our case, to the micro bypass. This is the wire that allows you to adjust the settings on the radio. Now that we've found all of our wires and everything's laid out on the bench, it is time to connect these wires, take the old radio out of the car, and get this thing hooked up. And if you want to see me do that, you've got to hit this subscribe button right here, because that's going to be in the next adventure. In the meantime, click this video right here and you can check out my 3-way front stage build I did in my pickup truck. I'm the DIY Audio Guy, and I will see you on the next adventure.